Well, good evening. You're very welcome to Inside Line Racing for round number 11, the final round of season 5 of ILR6 here at Interlagos. My name is Graham. I'm going to try my best to help bring you the action from a track that is known for deciding titles down the years. One of the better title deciders we have on the calendar. I much prefer this over Abu Dhabi personally, but so I'm glad that it all comes down to this race. What a track to have our title decider today. We'll go through everything as the laps flying in. We'll go through the permutations fairly quickly because it is XCI Dan. If I can find him, he just pops into third place here. XCI Dan on 163 points. He is 10 points clear of Don Rajib in second place. And that's all he needs today. Is if he finishes ahead of Don Rajib, that is it. The title is over. And for Don Rajib to have any chance to win today, he needs to at least finish 11 points clear of Dan. So that could be first and fourth. Does he actually have countback on his side? They both have. It'd be 4 wins apiece. I think actually Don Rajib might win on countback. He's got more podiums, I think. But anyways, he needs to at least score. If he wants to win the title outright without countback and getting into the difficult stuff, he needs to outscore by 11 points, so which means he needs to finish first and say Dan finished 12th, and then etc. If he finishes second, he needs Dan to finish no higher than, I believe, 8th to secure the title. And again, 15 points for third. If that's where Don Rajib were to finish, he would need Dan to finish. Sorry, if 7th if it's in second, 8th if he's in third, and so you get the idea. He needs to outscore by 11 points to win, at least comfortably anyways, by 1 point, but that's the permutations. Constructors, of course, was wrapped up last week in USA by Ferrari, so and already we have one Ferrari that's already out of the session, with King MJ being disqualified for blocking the pit lane. He blames the engine issues. I'm inclined to disagree, but alas, there you go. So I guess he's just going to drive from the back and see what he can do. would be my guess. So good start for Don Rajib, though. He is currently in second place, but is not on pole position for the moment. You mate with a 107.8 is currently in pole, and then Don Rajib and Dan then in second and third. So all shaped up quite nicely so far. But Dan's done himself. All Dan has to do is just keep it going, basically. So he's done a good job just to get, because sometimes he has struggled to get a qualifying lap in this year, and he started down the order a bit, but he's done a good job to kind of get himself into the thick of things kind of right away, and put himself under significantly less pressure than he could do otherwise. So see how he gets on. 36 long laps await after this qualifying session, of course. So it's anyone's game, and Interlagos does throw up a lot of weather surprises. It's quite overcast here. I do not know what the conditions are for the race, but as MK Bourne retires as well, so a couple of retirements already so far. MK Bourne being one, Ryan Berry being another. But here comes Don Rajib. Is he on his second flying lap? He's just starting. Let's just see how he takes turns 1 and 2. Very difficult corners on the track, so easy to, well, kind of very key to your lap. If you hook them up nicely, you're on your way to a good lap, but it's so easy to throw it all away in the first 2 corners. Of course, whether you run wide or a bit of understeer, or invalidate it completely by cutting turn 2, as he heads out of turn 4 and heads up the hill towards turn 6. Looking nice in that Mercedes, nice white helmet to go with as he makes his way through turns 7 and then 8 and 9. Difficult to overtake in this part of the track in the race, but alas, there are some interesting strategy options available to you. 2-stop isn't too bad here. I do personally prefer the 1. So we're taking the softs about lap how many laps? About 15 or so. To be fair, there's not a ton of distance between the supers and the softs. If you can really stretch these supers, if you're good at saving your tyres, as Don Rajib does go provisional pole 107.6, you can stretch your tyres, your supers, enough to do a medium to, supers to medium. But I would, if you're doing the super softs, I would recommend 2 if you're a little bit further down, wants to take a bit more of a risk. It does work. I have seen it work, the 2-stop versus the 1. So unlike other races, there's a bit of strategy to play with here, but I do personally think 1-stop is the way to go. How's the rest of the grid looking? A couple of guys you see between 7th and 10th ventured on mediums. Johnny here is on the softs, so not everyone's going for these super softs, to be fair. But I'd imagine once, you know, push comes to shove and we're about 2 minutes left in the session or so, I would expect most to be on the red striped supers. Here's Jordan, he's just come out of Jun Sao in the McLaren on the medium tyres. Tight line, try and minimise the distance towards the line, and 5th place, 108.9 on mediums is not too bad at all. Very good actually. That's not actually a pretty good time. Interested to see what he can do with a set of softs. And he doesn't think he's got enough ERS to go on. So let me just double check. Do we even have qualifying results? I'm not too sure, but because as Dan puts in the 10, it's so tight, isn't it, between Dan and Don Rajiv? 107.6 is for both of them. Just over 300 separate them. It has been an issue. I think it was Austria was a big issue for Dan this season for qualifying, and obviously with the race unfolding into the wet, you know, he had an absolute horror show where basically he was a bit of a moment there, has he, or is he just letting the Haas go? A bit of a horror show for Dan in Austria, where he just had I think he went off around turn 7 and 8 and kept going, but I don't think ever really got back into the fray afterwards. So, but kind of all that was caused by poor qualifying, and so he has done himself a good favour already by getting himself up amongst the front row, as Lord Elephant is disqualified for, say, blocking the pit lane. Well, either way, going to have a Mercedes and a Ferrari at the back row, so that should be fun. Be fun to actually watch those two go to work from the back, see what they can do. So hopefully we go down with a bang. We finish out the season with a bang, even if the title race doesn't end up being that exciting. Hopefully Brazil is a good track to get some good overtaking action. So if you're stuck in a DRS train, maybe a little bit less so, but generally speaking, you do get some good racing around Interlagos. So hopefully that's what we'll get. But before all that, there's 7.5 minutes to go. Guys on mediums and softs, a couple of guys out on the softs, so I'm guessing they'll lean towards the supers come the end of this session. Going board with Smudge on his lap. Turn 4. Try and take as much curb as you can, avoid running too wide like that. Very narrow part of the track, heart and mouth stuff if you're going side by side with another car. And as brave as you can through this section. That might be a little too wide, that might be an invalidated lap, and I'm pretty sure it is, so he's backed off now. He's got Force India of Johnny just behind him. We'll have to try and navigate through. This can be a place where traffic can be an issue. It is quite a short track, just over basically under 70 seconds for a lap time in qualifying, so easy to get bunched up, but he's got on the accelerator thankfully, and Johnny can carry on his lap as he heads out of Junsao and opens the DRS. Charge down towards line, stick to the left hand side, try and minimise the actual distance covered to shorten the run, and 108.5 on sauce for Johnny, so he does move up into 7th place then, just ahead of the McLaren of Jordan. As Suleiman get himself into the top 5 now as well, with no 7.9 on the supers, so it's all beginning to take a bit of shape here. The front 2 still class to the field for now, although I expect you Wattmate will have another run, another say possibly, and it's going to be interesting to see who can kind of get themselves kind of the cat amongst the pigeons in many ways, because it's ultimately a title fight between Don, Rajiv and Dan, but of course everyone else is still racing as normal. Like, it's up, you know, there's points up for grabs, there's a lot of places to be decided in the midfield and the such. You know, it's, if they end up getting caught in the title fight, you know, it's just them racing ultimately at the end of the day. So it's going to be interesting to see if anyone can kind of get amongst the crowd now that kind of King MJ is kind of out of the equation here. He won't be kind of getting into the mix, but Wattmate definitely has the potential to get himself up there, and if he can steal first place, You know, that's a lot of points he's taken away off the table that Don Regime really needs. So, and he goes provisional pole 107.4, so another convincing lap there from Mate in the Force India. Goes top, and maybe we do have a little bit of a third wheel as such into this Maïban say in this title race, at least in qualifying. So interested to see how that turns out. Don Regime was out on track, he's pulled into the pits. A couple of drivers, most of them are in the pits, so the lower part of the field still work to do. And Petrick, I do expect him to be much further forward. He's still pounding around on the medium tyre, so plenty of improvement left for him, I'd imagine. Well, you see Bastos here on a set of softs, so I'm sure maybe he might run on a set of supers come the end, might launch himself up to the top 7 or so. So again, plenty to be decided. We'll see who actually decides to go for softs, who actually decides to go for mediums. As long as I'm aware of, it's not wet for the race, but if it is, then obviously supers are a no-brainer. So who have we got out on the flying lap that could really improve? Noel is in. Boss, I think, is on a lap. So we'll stick with the Ferrari as he heads down the hill, then climbs up once again through Junsao left-hander. Exit is going to be critical here, especially if you're straight line speed is so important here, because if you're in a DRS train, it's going to be difficult to pass. You could easily spend a lot of time following another car. But your exit out of Junsao will be critical as Bastos moves up to 10th, 108.6. So at the moment, that gamble on the softs isn't really working out if that's what he intends to start the race on. So if he wants to get himself in the top 10 and stay there, it's going to have to be SS Supers, it looks like, at this stage for the Ferrari. Top 3 still into the pits. Suleiman is out on the fresh set of Supers. His teammate, oh, there's a car off the track, just get out of the way. His teammate is peeling into the pits, so Haas, this is decent showing here for Haas so far in qualifying. In the constructors, they are currently last. 27 points, 13 behind McLaren in 9th. So, I mean, this form is good, but, you know, we'll see if they can turn it into points. It obviously is the problem they've had most of the season. But Suleiman's looking decently on the pace, so let's go on board with him at least for now, while kind of most people are in the pits getting ready for their final run. Don't take too wide of an entry into turn 1, because you could end up dipping the wheel onto the grass. That is very, very smooth. Oh, just loses the back end, but through turns 1 and 2, absolutely perfect stuff. In terms of using the apex, it's got a bit of a snap of oversteer through the covered assault through turn 3. Easy does it through turns 4 and then 5, and then climbing up the hill. Doesn't really commit fully to it. It's one of those corners, if you attack it, I think it does reward you. If not, you're leaving a bit of time in the tail, and he goes very, very wide down the hill through turns 8 and 9 as he rounds 9. On no traction, this corner is very difficult to get the power down quickly without losing the rear, so really have to modulate the throttle. But as he comes through Junsao, don't take too much curb on that corner. There's a lot of it, and you don't want to unsettle the car too much. But here he comes then, flat out. This was a good lap at the start. How's it going to end? He lost a good bit of time in the middle sector, and he does not improve. So it was looking great through the first few turns, but kind of got away kind of after that. But as Bastos is out of this session, so happy enough to start outside the top 10 is Bastos. Well, he's got no choice in the matter now, as Ipswich in the Williams comes through the final corner down towards the line. What can he do? It's a 107.9, so he just creeps into the 7s and puts himself into the top 5, as now the rest of the field, including the leaders, are out on track, as we've got left less than a minute to go. So who's actually going to be, look at that queue that Uwatmate's found himself in, not the best. He's going to get one shot at this. So who's actually furthest forward of this group? It looks like it is Don Regib just behind him, so they're going to be the top 3 then, kind of in reverse order. Dan, Regib, and oh, that was a car on the apex there. Was that Moras? I think it may have been. But in reverse order then they're going to be crossing the line. So once this checkered flag drops, so Suleiman then, can he improve again? It's a 107.9. He's still fractionally ahead of Ipswich Boy, but it doesn't move any further up the field as Noel Patrick then finally puts in a lap 108 flat on softs. Good lap for the Red Bull driver. It's going to be interesting factor in this race if that's his kind of pace. He's shown his checker flag is now out, so who have we got? He's going to be first across the line. It looks like it is going to be Dan. So we'll stick with the Renault driver, the title leader. Can he get himself onto the front row for this final race of the season as he rounds the last two corners? We do himself a big favour, put himself on the front row. What can he do? It's a 107.6. He's not improved. Don Rajib 107.5 does improve, and then Uwatmate has the luxury of just coming into the pits and bailing on that lap. So that is it then for qualifying. Pinsky dives into the pits as well. So no one could improve their position, although Don Rajib I think did improve his time. Was not enough as Dan's car goes skidding away. We'll want to avoid this in the race. But was not enough to overcome the Force India of Uwatmate 107.4. And now he is going to be an interesting factor in this race from the front. I wonder what his thinking will be in terms of getting himself in amongst the title race, but we shall see. He is on pole position. And apparently Lord Elephant, the reason for his disqualification was I think he was in AI mode in the pit lane and he got disqualified for it, so that's a shame. However, I think it'd be really fun to watch him come through the pack along with King MJ, so we'll see how he gets on, but I rather get the feeling he didn't really want to be down there. He would rather be up front trying to help his teammate win if he can. He was talking about that earlier before the race, but there you go. That is qualifying for the final round of ILR6. It is Uwatmate on pole position ahead of Don Rajib in second, XCI Dan in third, Suleiman fourth, Ipswich in fifth, Speed Iceman sixth, Noel Petrick in seventh on softs, Jordan in 8th, Pinsky in 9th, ILRT Johnny in 10th, Smudge 11th, Johnny in 12th, Bastos 13th, Nas 14th, Morris in 15th, MK Bourne 16th, Ryan Berry 17th, King MJ 18th, and Lord Elephant then rounding out the field in 19th place. So, any thoughts on a winner predictions, title predictions? Go for it. I mean, fire away. It's going to be a tight one, but is 10 points just going to be too much for Don Rajib to overturn in one race? Well, we've seen a lot of points overturned in less, especially in Austria and such. So, I mean, anything's up for grabs. And with this weather hanging out in the background, I mean, you know, could go in any direction. So, 36 laps, strategies definitely in play as well. I think Noel Petrick could get himself in amongst this crowd as well. On the softs going to mediums, I'd imagine we'll see supers to mediums, but alas, we shall see. I do think there's a bit to be game going on the softs, but we'll see if anyone goes for the two-stop even. That could be a bold one if you want to really change things up. If you're Dan or Don Rajib, I probably would avoid, given that you just want to play it safe and don't want to put yourself in a compromising position, especially with a two-stop where you can easily end up in traffic. You damage your wing or into contact with any, racing happens, and all of a sudden your title could be in jeopardy. So I guess we'll find out as the rest of the field. Okay, as they get their way on their formation lap. So tyre implications, obviously we know the top 6 are on supers. Noel Petrick on softs in 7th, going to be a very interesting spot for him. He's going to have to try and survive the start with Jordan and Pinsky on the supers right behind him. It's a short run down to turn 1, so hopefully for him, for Jordan, or for Noel rather, I think he should be okay. But of course, start is, you could be jumped on any start really if it's that bad. So, but he's got a short run, so he's got a good chance to try and keep his position. Johnny then inside the top 10 on softs as well, and outside the top 10, pretty much the majority of people going for the softs. Smudge, Johnny, Bastos, Nas, Morris, and Ryan going for the softs. Lord Elephant and MK Bourne, as MK Bourne has often done this year, and has actually turned out pretty well for him, going along on the mediums, and is disqualified already. And King MJ is going for the super aggressive strategy. I'm guessing he'll do a two-stop. He's going for this super softs outside the top 10. So that should be fun. It'll be fun to watch him come through the field if he can. At the front, it is all to play for as they get ready to head up the hill. I wonder what how they'd be feeling between Don Rajib and XCI Dan. I guess Don Rajib has nothing to really lose as such. The damage was done last week, but you know he won't be the favourite heading into today. You know he's just got a race and that's all he can think about. Whereas Dan's got a lot more to lose, I think, being the man who is 10 points clear, and any misstep could easily end up putting him in territory where even if Don Rajib finishes second, you know, could be it. So pressure's off Don Rajib, really. He can just go for it. Dan, I think, is a lot well, he's got a lot more to lose, I think. We'll see. 36 laps, 36 short laps at that to find out. We'll go on board with the Renault to start. Title showdown, ILR6. It's gone all the distance. Who will come out on top? 5 red lights. And away we go. We've got a jump start already, but that's a good start for Dan as he heads down towards turn 1. He's going to be on the outside though, so Don Rajib should be able to defend as they file their way through turn 1. The rest of the field, as Speed Iceman and Suleiman exchange places, Don Rajib is moving into the lead of the race, and Dan is right there with him, going to take that Force India as well. So that's a great start for the title leaders, and Don Rajib having to go defensive already on Dan. Oh, a little bit of contact between the two title contenders, but they seem to have gone through okay unscathed as Don Rajib claims the place, maintaining it rather. But perfect start then for Don Rajib. He's done exactly what he's needed to do and is taking the lead of the race. Disaster start for you, mate. It all seemed to go wrong through turns 2 and 3 as the rest of the field though make their way through. You got Speed Iceman and Suleiman. You see the changes there, up from 2 places there. The Haas from 6th. Noel Petrick up a place now as well, so good start for him. The rest of the field, King is already up to 12th place already, so I can imagine a little bit of carnage took place down the field. Let's just have a quick check. There's a saw damage wing for Lord Elephant. Yes, there is. Not a ton of damage elsewhere though, so just a lightning start for King MJ, and he's already on the back of his teammate, but at the front. You look at the title race, it is Don Rajib leading ahead of Dan in 2nd, Uwapme in 3rd, Speed Iceman in 4th, Suleiman in 5th, Noel in 6th, Ipswich 7th, Jordan 8th, Johnny 9th, and Smudge rounding out the top 10. We've got a couple of pitchers already. Ryan Berry, of course, has to serve his drive-through, and Lord Elephant will replace that wing. That's a shame for him, starting on mediums as Noel goes to the inside to take Suleiman. This for 5th place, and he's got the move done. Yes, he has. So already Noel siding his way through the field on the softs. That's got to be a worrying sign for the guys in front. So they're going to have to really try and stretch this advantage of theirs on the supers while they can, because I think he could easily be a big threat come the second phase of this race, can Noel, especially with the progress he's making at the moment. So that'll be something to watch. But for now, already they've broken nearly close to a second away from Uwapmate already, and staying within DRS is so important here. If you can break it, you're in a good spot, but if you can't, it's tough to break DRS around here if you don't have the raw pace, because it is such a short track and it is a lot of straights. If you got good straight line speed, it's tough to break. So as we get into lap 3 then, Don Rajib crossing the line. He's 8/10 ahead of Dan and sets the fastest lap of the race once again, as Noel looking to try set a move up on Speed Iceman. So down DRS is now enabled for the first time in this race, and see if Noel can put it to good use. Might be a bit too far back this time to make a move on Speed Iceman, so we'll have to make do for the moment elsewhere. See Ipswich close to the back of Suleiman as well, but again not quite close enough, and King MJ's progress just been stunted somewhat here in 11th, but maybe perhaps with the DRS now. Bit of a traffic jam here, I have to say. I think it is starting with that McLaren of Jordan. He's 1.1 seconds behind Ipswich, and there's a lot of cars behind him. Can see, oh, close proximity, and that's King MJ going very wide, and Johnny snips through. See if Supersofts can hold him down on the outside. Can he get a good run heading down towards the next turn? Not quite on the outside. Initially had it, but then not enough track, and he runs out of space. So he is now down a position. Now is King MJ. So his start was great at the start, to start this race rather, but it was stunted now somewhat, and now he's lost another position as leaders with DRS for the first time down this main straight. It is still less than a second, although the Force India of Uwapmate has now set the fastest lap of the race as Noel Petrick goes down the inside of Speed Iceman. Goes a bit wide on exit though, that's going to allow the Haas to try and stick with it. Runs a bit wide. I'm sure we'll have picked up a warning in the process, but I think it's going to be another thing that's going to be very important today is the penalties. Very easy to pick up around Brazil, especially in turns 1 and 2. Sorry, turn 2 rather, and the exit, of course, the curb of turn 3. easy to do, as well as Johnny has now gotten by that McLaren, and Smudge trying to squeeze his way through as well up towards turn 6. A bit of contact, it's sloppy, and McLaren's forced wide. He's going to lose a lot of places here, is he? Because Bastot's going to go down the inside, and he claims that spot. So not a great stretch there for Jordan. Pushed a bit wide from Smudge, or even a smidge wide, and has lost some positions there as Suleiman and Noel still squabbling away. And Noel's actually lost that place, I believe, to the Haas. So after trying to make a move for P4 on one Haas, by the end of the lap he's now behind the other, and now looking to try and take that place right back. DRS wide open, of course, as it is on the Haas as well. Has he got enough straight line speed to make up for it? Tries to hang around the outside of one, but can't quite do it. Oh, close to desync there as King MJ gets by. That's Johnny rather, that's still squabbling, but can't quite complete the move. Yes, she knows, going for another attempt down towards turn 4. And look at that, Ipswich goes trying to follow him as well, and Sumas has been shoved a little bit wide there, and he has now lost 2 positions in that one corner. So opportunist there for Ipswich, but a little bit of contact to try and nudge himself by. Meanwhile, at the front, just 5 tenths separate Don Rajib and XCI Dan. They've pulled away now from you Wap Mate, 1.2 seconds ahead now, as we've got the other Force India trading blows with this McLaren of Jordan, who's kind of being battered around a little bit here to begin this Brazilian Grand Prix. And the Force India slips through then, so as him into 11th, just on the outskirts of the points. And look at King MJ trying to take a move as well on Jordan, so it has kind of proven to be the case, and he's missing half of his front wing on the right hand side, so that's kind of seemingly why he's losing a lot of positions this phase of the race. Nolan trying to set this move up again on the Haas of Speed Iceman around the outside. Can he do it this time? Oh, bit of contact, bit of contact, and that sent both of them into the wall and out of the race. They are both out. Speed Iceman and Noel Petrick both out of this race. A bit of sloppy stuff, it has to be said. And Jordan is out as well, so we've lost 3 cars then, including MK Bourne actually, so 4 in the space of a few seconds. And that's a shame, because Noel Petrick I think could have been easily amongst this crowd, but a little bit sloppy heading out of turn 3, heading into turn 3 rather. And there you go, then that is race over for him and Speed Iceman. That's going to be disappointing for both of them. They're running in good spots, but it has allowed Ipswich, Suleiman, Johnny, Smudge, all these guys to up a few places, so they're looking in good shape for some good points here to finish off. Oh, Dan running a bit wide there, I think much wider than he would have wanted to, but is still hunting down Don Rajib, still within a second and still out of a second of the cars behind me. Well, Ipswich is 4 seconds behind you, Watmace. You can't see the class, or kind of the difference in class here so far in this field. Certainly the top 3 in good shape. You can see what the guys behind can, if they can get by Ipswich, see if they can try and set off after Uwapme, but we'll see. A bit of a wide exit there from Ipswich, going to leave Suman right into the jaws, who's gone defensive very, very early. Can he make this one stick? Moves back across, so no luck this time. Meanwhile, this is getting really, really close up here between Dan and Rajib. We'll go on board with the Renault as he files his way through Sector 2. Don Rajib just a bit slower through that corner. And I wonder if Dan sees it, kind of senses an opportunity to try and go for the race win. It would be a perfect way for him to cap off the season, going for the race win for the title. But again, getting close is one thing, overtaking is certainly another. And he's just lost a bit of ground when it really counts, and he's just going to be a little bit too far back surely to try and think about a move into turn 1. We'll stick with it actually, we'll go back to Suleiman in a second. And again, he closes and closes and closes to the back of that Mercedes, but not close enough to make a move. We got Suleiman's going to try and put one on Ipswich. It's going to be an easy move in the end, down the inside into turn 1. Can he hold it? He can, by the looks of it. And as Ipswich picks up a penalty there in the process again. Second DRS rate down, can't get close enough to make an overtake, so he's getting close in this part of the track, but it just seems like Rajib's got a bit more straight line speed, and that's kind of saving him where it really counts. And so that's the challenge in Brazil. Sometimes if your pace is very similar and you're the car behind, it's going to be difficult for you to try and get it done, because it looks like Rajib is definitely running a bit more straight line speed. It looks like, anyways, at this early stage, than Dan. So even with DRS, it's proving tough for the Renault to get by. But early days, we are only on lap 8 of 36, so anything can happen. And Dan seems quite content to run wide on that part of the track. I don't know if that's just lag on the screen or something, but seems to be happy enough to run that a little bit wider before Jun Sao. But he's a little bit closer this time, isn't he, though? See if he can pick up the slipstream. His closing speed, is it good enough? He backs off early though, so decided he didn't really want any part of that as Uwapmate comes into the pits then. So from the front then, quite early, lap 9, Uwapmate is into the pits. I wonder if he'll go for the 2-stop. He's gone to softs. I don't think those will go to the end, so I think that is a 2-stop for Uwapmate. So I would guess Speed Iceman, is he disconnected or is it my connection? No, he's out of the race actually, so that'll be why. So I'm guessing Uwapmate's going to go supers, soft supers possibly to end this race. So it'd be interesting to watch. So he's doing. So I think it makes sense if he wants to go for this race. When he's going to have to do something different, I think, than Don Rajiv and Dan. I think that's a good place to. That's a good way to do it. So we'll kind of see what the strategy is for these two. But I'd imagine lap 12 or so, or we might see these guys peeling for say mediums. I see Dan seems to get a bit of a better run. Like in these last 2 laps, he's got a bit of a better run out of Jun Sao, and is reeling Don Rajiv in again. When you go for it this time, he's a bit closer this time around, isn't he? Pulls over to the right hand side, goes down the inside on the Mercedes. Can he hold it? Side by side through turns 1 and 2. This is beautiful stuff, and a beautiful move from Dan. He's through, but can he stay there? Because Rajiv has got the DRS. But you see Dan pulling away. Is the straight long enough for the Mercedes to claw back in front? Thought about it, but it just wasn't there in the end, and that is Dan into the lead of this race, and that is the last thing Don Rajiv needed, was to be overtaken by the Renault. But of course now, it isn't the worst case scenario, but of course he can kind of dictate, can't he, strategy a little bit here. He can kind of come in, he can react to the car in front of him. If he comes in, he can stay out possibly if he wants, or if he doesn't come in, he can try and undercut as well. So there's a few options here for Don Rajiv in second place, so all is certainly not lost yet. And of course there's the unpredictable factor of Uwapmate's strategy, though he has picked up a 3-second penalty. Smudge has lost half his fronting. I think that accident just happened just now between himself and Suleiman. So Suleiman in P3. It looks like he's had it coming together with Johnny in P4, and with Smudge right behind this group, as well as Bastos and King Engine not too far behind that either. Could be bad stuff coming for Johnny. So leading pair again cut their way through turns 1 and 2. I think Dan is definitely a bit more comfortable on these softs at this stage of the race. Looks like Johnny's got by Suleiman despite that wing damage. Oh, bit of a big twitch there for Suleiman. He's going to be surely in the clutches of the Sauber of Smudge, who has DRS now and a much better run. When you go down the inside, he will, and he holds it too, and Bastos is going to try to sneak through as well. So it goes from bad to worse for Suleiman, and he has lost two spots there again in one corner. We've seen that happen a few times in turn 4 already, with just kind of a bit of contact being made, and then you can't really recover, and then the difference in speed between the other car behind, and it's just kind of hard to kind of react to that and keep your position. But alas, I'm not sure how long Johnny will be joyed here in third. Of course, he does have wing damage, and he's got cars less than a second behind him, but one of the front two. So Don Rajiv then is reacting to the opposite of what Dan has done, but he has sped into the pit lane. You could tell he was coming in way too hot there, and he's got a 5-second penalty now to contend with as well. So it's gone from bad to worse. He is on medium tyres though, so no question of a 1-stop there for Don Rajiv. Now where will he feed out into? What's the gap? He should come out now. Uwapmate is pounding around on softs. They're around 2 seconds or so behind. It's going to be close, but I think Don Rajib's going to stay ahead of Uwapmate, and that's going to be tough for Uwapmate because he's got to try and overtake Don Rajib. If he wants to make the strategy work, he's going to have to overtake that Mercedes. He is on softs, but the mediums are a very consistent tyre around here, and so can he find enough pace difference to overtake that Mercedes, because this pace I think is quite similar on the same tyre. But can he find enough in the delta between the soft and the medium to get by? Of course, Dominic is going to have to get his medium up to temperature, and this is going to be the thing that is going to get Mate, I think, close to it. As you can see here, Johnny here under pressure because he's got wing damage, and now Dan is sped into the pit lane as well. So even as it gets, then they've both sped into this pit lane as Johnny pulls into the pits, and that's going to be stacking for Renault. That's not going to be good news, but luckily for the title fight, I guess at least it is Dan who is in front. So Smudge then inherits the lead of this race out of Bastos, and then King MJ here on Super is getting close to his stop now as well. So where is Dan? Here he is, and there are the other two, Rajib and Mate, and looks like he is going to still come out ahead. So the undercut hasn't worked out there for Don Rajib. He's 1.1 behind, but has one lap more on his tyres to get them up temperature, and he's going to have to use this to try and close in a bit. And can he close enough to where DRS becomes a factor? Either way, they both evened it out then with 5-second penalties apiece. That certainly helps the Force India of Mate, who's got a 3-second penalty to contend with, but of course, as we know, has got another stop to make. And look at that already. Look at how Rajib is caught to the back of Dan again. The colder tyres on that Renault is desperately trying to get them up to temperature quickly, but is it quick enough to try and save him from being overtaken from Don Rajib? This could be a big moment in this race if the Mercedes can get by that Renault. And just not the, as he just squandered a bit of time heading out of Junsao. He could be under pressure from behind as well, but this is going to be a big test of Dan's straight line speed here. It's going to be a great view actually from the rear wing. They are both closing and closing and closing, and he goes down the inside, goes Don Rajib. I'm surprised Dan didn't go defensive, but he has got that move done, and Don Rajib moves back into the effective race lead, the net race lead, and that's a big move right there. Can Dan respond and get back as he did on the Supers? We'll see. Very early stages in this race yet in terms of that, but he's doing what he has to do, Don Rajib, and he can be very fortunate that Dan also has a speeding penalty to contend with as well. What would really help is if Mate can get by Dan. That would really help Don Rajib in this title race. So we'll see what happens with that, as Bastos is currently leading. He has got by Smudge, and King MJ not too far behind this either. He's done well to get those Supers 13 laps. I wonder if he'll try either a 2-stop or maybe a Supers to soft stop. Smudge comes in then, of course missing half his front wing, and in comes King MJ then as well. So second and third pit, and that leaves Bastos then to continue to pound around at the front, of course yet to make his stop. Three-way scrap, isn't it, for P2 at the moment. How close can Mate get on those softs? Again, looks like he's just a bit too far back of Dan, and of course having DRS as well will not help the Force India get by that Renault, and that's kind of what I mean. A DRS train here is pretty tough, as medium tyres for King MJ then. So interesting. I thought he might have gone for he may go for the ultra aggressive strategy, but alas, he's chosen to do the one stop as Smudge then is out of this race. I'm guessing he's retired into the pit lane, so maybe his team has not changed his wing, but he's out of this race then. I have to show you because he's running, and a VSC is deployed then, so a virtual safety car is deployed. This would be a great time for Bastos. Will it last long enough to get him into the pits? We'll see, but it could work out a right treat for the Ferrari and get himself a bit closer to the front here if this works out. And he is into the pits, and this may have worked absolutely brilliantly. We'll see how he gets on as they're getting ready to go racing again. It's going to happen soon, and they're still in. VSC is still underway, so there it is. It is underway. A racing once again as NAS is out of this race. So where is Bastos going to end up then? Is he just, yeah, I think he's made up some time, but maybe not as much as he was hoping under a VSC. But we are racing again. Don Rajib leading way ahead of Dan Mate in third, or Elephant in fourth on a very old set of super softs. He's got 14 laps on those things, so fair play to him. He's taken that one a long way. Bastos has come out in 5th place now, so he's actually fared pretty well all things because he's actually managed, I think he's managed to jump that group of Suleiman and Ipswich, and he's a bit further forward now than his teammate was, about 5 or 6 seconds. So I think it has, even though you would like to be a little bit closer to the front three. All in all, of course, Lord Elephant's still yet to pit. That's actually worked out really well for Bastos. Now he has got Suleiman all over the back of him, whose tyres are a bit more up to temperature than, of course, the fresh mediums in front, and trying a bit of a wiggle there, actually trying to keep the car in the right direction. But all in all, even if he gets overtaken here, I think he's done pretty well out of that VSC, all things considered. We'll see if he can do it. Dan is getting closer and closer to Rajib. How is his exit out of the curve of the Sol as the sun shines onto the track? So I think any threat of rain early in the race is well and truly gone, but not quite close enough for Dan again. But he's right where he needs to be. He's doing everything he has to do. He is in P2, and that's all he needs to win this title. As Johnny picks up a penalty, his teammate in 9th. Again, it's close. Like, I think the pace between these guys are so close. The problem now is that Uwapmate's still stuck here, and I think he will have to pit again. If he's taking these the distance, he's going to see the front two pull away. So what Rajib really needed was to let, I think he needed to let Uwapmate go, try and get him past Dan, and then let him sail into the distance on these softs, and then with a two-stop come back out, maybe do some damage. Because at this rate, at the moment, it's going to basically secure Dan for P2 if Uwapmate has to make another stop. And if that's not enough for Rajib, second place for Dan is not enough for him to win the title. He needs to be at least third to make things interesting. I need to check the countback situation as Lord Elephant comes into the pits, because the difference is 10 points, and obviously the gap from first to third, obviously in terms of points dished out, is 10. Obviously 25 for Victor, 15 for third. But without Uwapmate, it's, you know, that's not going to matter, because he's not where he needs to be for where Don Rajib needs him to be if he wants to have a little go for the top two. And at the moment, even, I think Rajib is actually coming under a bit more pressure from Dan in these last few laps, as we've just crossed halfway. We will cross halfway once this lap is over, and I don't see a lot changing between the top two. Anyways, I do think that there's another pit stop to come for that Force India, but he's got the DRS open, as both the top, as second and third do. But again, not close enough to each other to try and make a move. Dan gets close-ish, but not close enough. Not a bad run out of the curve of the Sol, to be fair. He's going to get himself pretty close this time. Is he going to be close enough to make a move? Is he going to go for it? Doesn't need to risk it. And he doesn't. No silly antics. He knows how the game is played. As we have a ghost car to deal with. Only got 12 runners left, so this kind of the attrition here kind of dropped off quickly. But I do suspect part of that is to do with fatigue, because of course I'm sure for many this is the last race many will have on F1 2018. So I think many are just ready to be done with it. But there is still a title to be won at the top here, and it's anyone's guess for the actual race win. Top three covered by less than a second. Actually, the Force India looks a little bit closer to the Renault this time round. See if he can make anything happen with DRS this time round. They have a good amount of ERS, all three of them, so they've been managing that pretty well. But again, just not close enough, and that's the problem when at Brazil. Sometimes the DRS train is very, very much real. You'll have to hope for a mistake or some sort of wide exit similar to that of Uwapmate just now, but of course he's not under any pressure from the cars behind. He's got a nice 13-second, almost 14-second gap to himself and Bastos, and of course Bastos, he's actually done well to hold off that Haas in front, behind him rather, in Suleiman. Despite having cold tyres coming out of the pits, he's done well to hold on to that position. I think he'd be looking good for a top 5 spot, if nothing else. McLaren of Morris going wide. Oh, there's been contact made! Is that Uwapmate into the back of him? It is. So he didn't get out of the way enough, and now Uwapmate has now got damage. to the right hand side of that wing. He did have to make another stop anyway, but that is going to be unscheduled. He's going to have to come in to replace that wing, and I didn't get to see a proper view of that, but it just looked like Morris couldn't get out of the way quick enough, and he's collected the Force India in the process. Front two look okay, as Dan actually looking like he could shape up a move on Don Rajiv this time. DRS wide open, reeling him in. Don Rajiv goes defensive, got to force Dan around the outside, and he holds on to the position for now, but how's his run out of turns 2 and 3 with the DRS, and Uwatmate is out of the session, and I'm sure very frustrated at the event that just happened, and you can't really blame him, to be honest. Always frustrating when the back marker comes into play and causes damage, and I think that's going to be gushing news for Don Rajiv, because he needed Uwatmate to be right up here in the fold, in the thick of things, and now if it's just him and Dan, there's not a lot to fight for really, because the advantage of course is still with Dan. He has a 10-point lead, and with a 7-point difference between first and second, that is not enough for Don Rajiv. He's going to need or hope for Dan to make a mistake, a critical mistake somewhere, and he retires, or maybe damage his wing on the back of his own car. But of course, conspiracy theories come into play if such a thing were to happen, but I'm sure nothing of the sort will happen. Both very skilled drivers, clean drivers as well from what I've seen. Nothing I've seen would suggest anything of the sort. So I think we're going to get a good old-fashioned race between now and the end of this championship. Will it be enough for Don Rajiv? It doesn't look like it at the moment, but of course there is still plenty to play for. Safety car can change everything should one come out in these last 15 laps, including the one they're on. And look at Don Rajiv already covering very early to try and get to that inside line, and it holds on to the position for the moment, but really a bit of a wide exit actually for Bastos. He could be under pressure now from Suleiman. Didn't look clean at all coming out of turn 3, and the Haas of Suleiman going to try and get this move finally done on the Ferrari down the inside into turn 4, gets the move done. So that's been, he's been patient with that one. He's stuck in his DRS, hasn't he, for a good few laps ever since he's come out of the pits as Bastos, and now Suleiman into the top 3 then. So a good result, very good result on the cards here for Suleiman. He's got to try and hold on and try and keep it consistent and clean, and try and avoid any further penalties, because his best result at the moment, from what I could see, has been P4 in Bahrain by the looks of things. So that was a long time ago, so he could be on for a very good result today, regardless of whether he finishes 3rd or 4th or maybe even 5th, because even I'm sure King MJ would want to have a say. A podium still up for grabs for the Ferrari, but of course plenty of time left. Still lap 23 of 36. The field has kind of spread a little bit outside of that, but big difference obviously between, Johnny's out of the car, Morris is a lap down, so it's kind of a 10-car race in many ways, with 14 laps to go. Dan still all over the back of Rajiv. He's never really let him go really, and he doesn't need to really fight or anything. He can stay exactly where he is and he'll be in good shape. But of course, if you want to win a title, there's only one way to do it really, and that's with a victory on track. That's the only way to get, it's a proper way to get it done really. It's the way the drivers all want, and he could be on his way as he opens his DRS again. Rajiv has done a good job defending. Darts to the left hand side. He got to again force the Renault around the outside, and again he can't quite get it done, can Dan. So Don Rajiv doing a great job defending that spot for everything he can. He is desperately trying to avoid handing over some more points to Dan, even if it means, even right now, if it's not enough to get him the title, he is determined to win this one on track if nothing else. And now Morris has been disqualified from the session. Where was he even parked? Outside the pit lane. So we are down to 10 runners then. Sad, because this race had a lot of promise, especially with the likes of Speed Iceman and Noel Petrick as well, Smudge, but and Uwatmate as well, but it's kind of all unravelled one way or another, and there's a big gap between, well, top 2 and everyone else. But what a battle still it is between Don Rajiv and Dan. It is very fitting for the whole season they've been pretty close, because even when King MJ took a 30-point lead after Austria, you know, they were still pretty close, these two. But can Don Rajiv defend this one? He's got a much better run, and now Dan has got the inside line, and he's going to take it. Can Don Rajiv fire in the outside? He can. My bad, I switched to the wrong car. But out of turn 3 to cover the Sol, Dan is right there. He'll have DRS now to boot as well, so surely this is going to be it for Don Rajiv's defence of this first place, at least for the time being. Down the inside into turn 4. A little bit of contact, side by side, but good racing, good firm racing. And Dan gets the move done. Can he hold it heading up the hill? Will Don Rajiv want to place his car there? No. So good, fair, clean racing. A little bit of contact, but nothing malicious, nothing dirty. And now Dan moves into first place, and now his next step is, can he break DRS? It's been very, very tough to break all race long, kind of no matter who's been where. And the problem is, once you get past, you don't have a lot of time to really do it, because if you get by through turn 4, there's not a ton of time to really try and get a second ahead by this point here. And again, it's less than 5/10 is the gap between the top two. So is that going to be enough for Dan to hold on to this lead? As he opens the DRS, Don Rajiv. Dan goes defensive. Jinx to the right hand side. Does Don Rajiv got to force his way around? Again, can't quite do it. So now the roles have been reversed, and he's got to try and find a way to get by pretty much before turn 1, or get pretty much down the inside is the key, really. It's, you know, with the way turns 1 and 2 unfold, once you defend the inside line, the way 2 cuts off, it's narrow. You can't really, there's no space to really cut it unless you want to get a penalty. You kind of, if you're on the outside of 1 and the inside of 2 is not really an overtaken place unless you've got a willing sparring partner. But and Suleiman is out of this race. Oh, there he goes. There he is. He's lost coming out of turn 4. Wow, that's an unusual one. It looked like he was all on his own as well. So running P3, I don't think anyone was beside him, because I know I was going to mention that Bastos has dropped. He dropped only 2 seconds behind the Haas of Suleiman. So I don't think it could have been him and any accident with him. So I think he's just dropped it of his own accord. He got too much on the grass, or whatever the reason is. He looks like he's thrown P3 away here by the looks of it. So that's a desperately disappointing result for Suleiman. He was in P3, and now no points lost. So we're now down to 9 runners then for this final race of ILR6. It's well, it's not been the race I think many envisioned, but what has delivered still is this battle here between the top 2. At least this delivered, if nothing else, from this race, and they're still going at it. We could check the penalty situation, I guess would be a thing we could do. Just a stop go and a warning for Dan. Of course, the same stop go for Don Rajiv, and 2 warnings, so 1 more, and it looks like he could be on his way to a penalty. So that could end up deciding this race. It might not, as Pinsky comes into the pits to put on a set of super softs. He's kind of been nowhere, hasn't he? It's the second stop, so he was close to the back, to be fair, to begin this race. So actually he pit on lap 1. That's what happened. He pit on lap 1, so I believe that's what happened. Either way, he is out on a set of supers, and he's 8 seconds behind Ryan. By the looks of it, maybe a bit more by the time he comes out. Nearly 9 seconds, so some points still up for grabs, as is this race win. Don Rajiv was actually a lot closer this time around, just not as tight maybe to the curve of the Sol as he needs to be. As he opens the DRS, he's going to get close, but I think a key run to try and make an overtake, shape an overtake down towards here, is a good run out of the curve of the Sol as Ipswich Boy makes his stop. Bastos then and Kick MJ, so the 2 teammates. Of course, the constructors title is wrapped up. These 2 are free to fight. Their job is done. Oh, is that a brake check? I'm not sure what happened there. I think what happened there was, I think Bastos was going to pull over to the left hand side and let King MJ go, and I think King MJ just trying to follow the slipstream just was caught up in it. I think that would be a guess as to what happened. Thankfully, it doesn't look like there's any damage. There certainly wasn't an accident, so that's good to see. But I think just maybe misinterpreted signs there, I think, from the 2 of them. But anyways, King MJ up into 3rd then, having started from the back, and Bastos then down into 4th. They are similar tyres in the mediums, As Don Regime again, close but not close enough. Lord Elephant looks like an interesting little spot here as well. 10 lap old on the softs. 1.8 behind Bastos and King MJ. That's going to be interesting. And again, he's got a bit closer, hasn't he? But it's just not close enough for Don Regime to make a move. And even if he was, as again the two Ferraris going side by side through turns 1 and 2, and Bastos taking that place back then from his teammates. So good racing there between the two. And again, while they squabble, it does allow Lord Elephant to get a little bit closer and closer to the squabbling Ferrari. So be interested to see if he can kind of throw himself into the mix. Oh, a bit contact, and that's Dan, and that's Don Regime through on Dan. I think there may have been a bit of contact there. Kind of that move came out of nowhere. But Don Regime is back through into the lead of this race. His wing is intact. I'm not sure what happened there. It happened very quickly as I'm looking through the timing screens. But Don Regime is back through on Dan. And let's see if he can now try and stretch away. It's been the thing no one at the front has been able to do really, is pull away. Again, it's so hard to break DRS. It's going to have to take a mistake or just significant difference in tyre degradation and wear. And again, Dan will try and reply to Don Regime, who cuts off the inside line. He's got to go around the outside of 4 once again. Can he get on the power sooner? Not quite. As again, a bit of a lunge this time from King MJ, a little bit wide, but he has got the move done this time on his teammate, so he takes back that P3. But no such luck for Dan trying to retake the lead from Don Regime. Some fastest laps coming in now from Pinsky, and then Ipswich Boy puts in another one on the softs. He's in 7th place at the moment, picks up another penalty in the process. Lap 30 of 36, just a few laps left, but nothing really that can be done at this stage for Don Regime's title hopes. Again, comes down with the DRS when you go for a lunge into turn 1. Again, doesn't need to, and doesn't need to pump himself into any compromising positions that could see him into a wall or with damage. Although to be fair, if he did pick up some wing damage at this stage, as long as it wasn't absolutely critical red, I'm sure he'd be able to nurse it to the end and still have enough gap between himself and King MJ. And this is a nice little battle now emerging, because it's now himself, Bastos and Lord Elephant now as well. So this is all for the final podium spot. There are some penalties at play here as well, so it's going to be interesting to see how it all unfolds come the checkered flag, because I think we could see a few surprises kind of amongst the top kind of 3, 4 and 5 anyways. Top 2 maybe less so. Again, Dan is close. What's his exit out of? Junsei runs a bit wide though on the lead up. Good run for Don Regime, but is that going to be good enough? Again, lots of ERS, more ERS for Dan. You get the feeling he has been nursing a bit, and the longer this goes on, the less Don Regime has to play with. And look at the difference in straight lines people. Again, Dan decides not to go for any outlandish move, backs off, saving himself for a better attempt, which I don't think will come down at the end of this straight. Despite having the DRS, he's getting closer and closer, but Don Regime cuts it off. And again, it's just hard to get around the outside. A move around the outside done at turn 4, unless kind of you're literally alongside and have a better run. But here's a good run heading up the hill towards turn 5. He's going to place his car there. He is. There's a little bit of contact, is there? Dan trying to hang around the outside. Oh, there is contact this time, and Don Regime goes skidding off. And this time, it was inevitable at some stage. You have to, maybe you could say they were close together long enough. But this time there was finally contact between the two. No wing damage, it looks like, but it got, you know, the first time they went side by side, kind of heading out of turns 4, up the hill rather, 4, and then outside of 5. The outside of 5 is a tough place to overtake, and it's tough to go side by side there because it's so easy to understeer and then understeer into the other car, whatever the case may be. But Dan is back through. He now has a 3-second lead, and he's not going to slow down either, it looks like. So I'm not sure who to, I don't know if you apportion blame anywhere. It was our racing incident. I'm not sure. I need another look at it, but I don't think in the grand scheme of things it matters too much. The penalty I'm sure it can be removed for Don Rajiv, but I don't think it matters in the grand scheme of things. I think that may have been just a racing incident. To be honest, I need another look, but let's see if I can get one up on the stream before this race is all said and done. Meanwhile, I guess we could focus in for the battle for P3. It is still King MJ ahead of Bastos and Lord Elephant. They are squabbling for the last podium position of the last race here in ILR6. Let me try and get another view of this. Of course, if you're watching the stream, of course, you have the benefit of just going immediately back and having a look at it and making a call on it. I need to actually see it a second time before I really make my mind up on it. Because it could be, you can see it in a number of different ways. It's Pinsky then who's been reeling in Ryan. Gets by, of course, he is on supers. I think Ryan won't go down without a fight though, but to be honest, with the tyres he has, I'm not sure if he can really fight this one. So Pinsky into P7 then, although Ryan's going to go for it, to be fair. But Pinsky should have better tyres and that should be job done then. So just watching this again, yeah, Dan tried to get back on track and didn't have a ton of space, and that's where the contact happened. I'm just looking at it one more time. Yeah, it's a tough one because Dan had to come back on track. So on Don Rajiv's screen, it looks like he's just kind of ploughed into him as Bastos looking to try and shape a move on his teammates for the podium. Good run out of the curve of the side. Got to try and go around the outside though. And that's an instance of getting it done around the outside. That's how you go around the outside of turn 4. You do need to be right alongside. But yeah, looking at that incident again, Dan had to come back on track at some stage, and Don Rajiv did not give him a ton of room to come back. So on his screen, it looked like Dan has just come across him, but as a corner coming up, he does have to try and get back on track. If you were to apportion blame anywhere, it might be with Don Rajiv, but I'd be tempted to say, I would be more inclined to say just let that go and leave it as a racing incident as such. But that would be my call if I was calling it. But we'll see if the stewards, if it's submitted, and to see if the stewards have anything to say about it afterwards. Again, I don't think it has a great impact on it, and Don Rajiv picks up a 3-second penalty. So I don't think it mattered in the end. Unfortunate, but I don't think it actually truly matters in the end, because unless it's a 15 or 20-second penalty slammed on Dan after the race, it wasn't putting him down to P3 or P4. So, you know, ultimately, I don't think it matters. Second to last lap, 9 cars still left. We're just kind of waiting for this one to tick down. Good little scrap though between third, fourth, and kind of Lord Elephant's kind of dropped back a bit. But we'll see what the penalty situation is when they cross the line. Could still be one last surprise. If we just look at the position changes, there you go. The bottom two, of course, being Lord Elephant and King MJ started 18th and 19th, up to 4th and 5th respectively. Great job from Bastos as well from P13 to get himself up to 3rd. Again, that's VSC definitely helped him out a real treat. I don't think he makes it this far if that VSC doesn't come out. But we are on the final lap of the race. The outcome has kind of been inevitable for a while, ever since really Uwap Mate was stuck behind and couldn't get past Dan for P2. He was the one driver I think that could have made things a bit more unpredictable, but he got into an incident with Moras in McLaren and retired from there, and that's kind of been the story from there. So it's been a roller coaster season for Dan. He's had DNF initially. He had 11th place finish in Austria, which was an absolute mare of a race. It looked like it may have been over after that, after King MJ had a 30-point lead after that. But some poor races for King MJ. Disconnect as well in USA. No podium since Silverstone. And Don Rajiv with a 7th place in USA was kind of the turning point for this title race. It's gone down to the wire, but ultimately it is as we came in. XCI Dan is your ILR6 champion for Season 5 of Inside Line Racing. Congratulations to him. Don Rajiv will cross the line in 2nd. A worthy runner-up, but just not enough this time round to take him to the title. So well done to Dan. Well done to Don Rajiv for a great season, as well as King MJ, who was kind of there as well right until the second to last round, where unfortunately his lag kind of put him out of this title. Bastos will cross the line in 3rd. Will keep 3rd. Lord Elephant jumps King MJ into fourth. The Ferrari then finishing in fifth. ILRT Johnny will finish in sixth. Very quiet race for him after his wing damage in the end. He will finish sixth. Pinsky will cross the line seventh. Ipswich has already crossed the line a lap down in ninth. So double points finish for Williams at least to finish the season. Not the worst note to end on. Pinsky then seventh, and Ryan Berry brings it home for his best result, tied best result of the season, in eighth place. He'll jump up a few places as a result of that, to be fair. So well done to him. But your champion is Dan on the top step of the podium. He will take a final points tally, at least provisionally, for the final race result. The race result is finalised, of 188 points, and he finishes 17 points clear then of Don Rajib, who will finish with 161, it looks like, and then King MJ will be third on 148 in the end. And of course, as you mentioned, the constructors was wrapped up last week, but second place it looks like is going to go to Renault. So well done to them, but they were a good bit behind Ferrari in the end. So there's your final result. XCI Dan is your ILR6 champion, had Don Rajib in second, Bastos third, great result for him, Lord Elephant fourth, King MJ fifth, IRT Johnny sixth, Pinsky seventh, Ryan Berry eighth, Ipswich rounding out the finishers in ninth. We lost a lot of people in this race. Johnny, Suleiman, Uwat, Nas, Smudge, Speed Iceman, Noel Petrick, Jordan, MK Bourne we lost very quite early on, and Morris was disqualified in the end. So that is going to be it for Season 5 of Inside Line Racing and ILR6. Thank you so much for joining us through the 11 rounds of the shortened season. Of course, F1 2019 just around the corner, but there is still more to come from Inside Line Racing. Not only for F1 2018, of course, at 8 o'clock, you can catch ILRs 4 and 5, but of course, keep an ear out, keep an eye out on the ILRT Twitter page, which I will just grab in front of me just in case I have the name wrong. It is at ILR League. Be plenty of stuff going on, I'm sure, across different platforms, different racing games, I'm sure. So keep an eye out for that, because I think some good stuff is coming. But until then, thank you so much for watching both Season 4 and 5 of Inside Line Racing from ILR6. Until next time.